Join me as I dive into the life lessons I've learned from my time in China and see how I'm living my dream as an expat in China and see how I apply my life lessons in my everyday life. All reveal surprising reasons why life in China has made me a better man and how dreams can come true in China. China and the US are two vastly different countries with distinct values that shape you for good or bad. Someone who's experienced both, I've got a unique perspective to share. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which country you would prefer to learn your life lessons at and make your dreams come true. When I first arrived in China, I was met with excitement and intimidation. Let me tell you, I was a little leery. I didn't know what to expect. Instantly, I thought of the language barrier. I really believed it was going to be a huge challenge for me, and it was. I quickly realized that my communication was limited. This was no longer America. I was in China. I used to take communication for granted, but not anymore. Simple tasks like ordering food became a challenge. Learning to point and tell people what I wanted was a different way of life than America. I had to quickly adapt. Thank goodness for pictures. And in many restaurants, of course, English writing. Not only ordering food was a challenge, but asking for directions was also a challenge. Finding my way around was not easy. Learning to navigate China became a challenge. Coming from the US, I basically knew how to get around anywhere at any given time. Now navigating through a new country wasn't easy. Communicating, ordering food, getting around town in a new country, these now became daunting tasks that were no longer easy for me and were challenging. The intimidation I had was overwhelming. At times, I wanted to turn around and go home, but I knew something was telling me there was just too much to offer. Something inside of me was telling me, press forward. Daunting tasks, feeling frustrated and defeated. It was challenging. Being an expat in China is truly a unique experience. It's a chance to immerse yourself in a culture that is vastly different from your own, to learn and discover a new way of life. My experience in China has truly been a game changer, shaping my perspective on life and teaching me valuable lessons that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. China was a country that I knew nothing about, and the information I heard from the Western media was not always positive. So when I first arrived in China 13 years ago, the Western media disinformation was truly frustrating because what I was seeing and learning was completely opposite of how I was brainwashed by American media. Like I said, Western misinformation that is constantly fed to Americans and others around the world will mess with your mind before you arrive in China. But once you do, and you immerse yourself in the culture and the people and get to know the country, you will realize that everything that you have heard in the past and that you're still hearing today is Western media lies. And these are the wonderful people I meet in China that just make me so happy. And these type of people are everywhere in China.
Good evening.
Good evening, good morning.
Good evening.
They're so nice. You have a wonderful day. Nice to meet you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
China has ended up truly being a country, a new life that has really taught me to be a better person. I have really learned a lot in this fabulous country. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that as I go along in this video. China has been a country that has taught me so much about myself and a different perspective on learning about the world. From the moment I arrived, I knew this was going to be an adventure like no other. And I was excited to see what was in store for me and what I could learn along the way. As I've already mentioned, the biggest challenge as I arrived in China was the language barrier. Going out by yourself, everyday tasks like grocery shopping, ordering food became a challenge. And like I also mentioned, don't get me started to navigate around the town that I knew nothing about. It was like trying to decrypt a secret code. Despite the challenges, I was determined to learn and adapt. In the beginning, I also struggled a lot with the cultural differences, often finding myself in awkward positions every time.
How are you today?
How are you? Come in the video. Say hi.
Hi, I'm Yang Kaijin.
Yes, my new friends. You're going to be on YouTube. We're going to make you famous.
How are you today?
I am doing good. Your English is so good. My name is Chris.
Hello, Chris.
Nice to meet you, my little brother.
Nice to meet you.
Bye-bye. Oh,
Hello.
I'm Chris. Hi, nice to meet you. Have a nice day today. Oh, how wonderful. As I was mentioning before, I just met those wonderful children and their families. Many times I struggled with the cultural differences that put me in awkward situations because I did not know the Chinese culture and I needed to learn and learn quickly. There were times I offended people and it wasn't because I meant to. It was just a difference in cultures. Left my backpack with my wallet, my phone. Let's go back and see if it's still here. Right where I left it, nobody touched it. Now what would happen in China, eventually somebody would grab this and turn it into lost and found. Shame on me for leaving it behind. There were many times when I felt like throwing in the towel and just going back home. But I knew that if I stuck with it, I would eventually start to pick up on the nuances of the culture, which I did and continue today to immerse myself and learn the Chinese culture. Let's face it, relocating to China, living in China, can be a culture shock. The customs, the traditions, the way of life, everything is completely different. Your world pretty much is spun upside down from how you were brought up. Simply so different from the way things were back home. For example, in China, it's considered impolite to finish a meal completely. It implies that the host did not provide enough food. When going to someone's house in China, it's always polite to bring a gift when invited to somebody's house. Whether that's a basket of fruit, a bottle of wine for the gentleman, or a scarf for the lady. The right thing is always to provide a gift. What else I've learned, it's not really good just to show up uninvited. Little different in China. You get invites all the time. So bring a gift, bring a good mood and a smile on your face. Another concept, or I should say, One of the biggest challenges I faced was trying to understand the concept of saving face and preserving social harmony. Saving face, what does that really mean? You basically don't want to put yourself in a bad situation where you're not trusted or respected anymore. That's why China and the Chinese people don't want to disgrace themselves, because then they're disgracing their family, their friends, so they don't get caught in bad situations. This led to some confusing interaction where I could ask some questions and they would give me different answers than I expected. And this had to do with saving face. They didn't want to tell me the wrong thing. So this is a communication issue that I had when I first arrived in China. It really took me a while to truly understand this. It wasn't about dishonesty, but rather about avoiding conflict and preserving the relationship, hence keeping harmony intact. Preserving social harmony. How much can you say about social harmony in China and how great it is? As I started to realize there were many new norms in China that I was struggling with, at the same time, I was beginning to realize in my mind that I was starting to learn new valuable lessons, that I was starting to grow as a person, become a better person. And that was happening because of China. China was teaching me valuable lessons about empathy, about how to better understand people, and ultimately, for me, how to become a better person. These valuable lessons, I was being taught this every single day, whether I knew it or not, just by the surroundings, just by the people. And I eventually was picking up right from wrong. I learned in China there's often more to the story that's on the surface, which the Western media does a poor job of. Getting to the story and understanding the story instead of just what seems to be on the surface, and taking the time to understand someone's perspective can lead to a deeper connection, and ultimately a more meaningful relationship. In the beginning, these were hard lessons for me to learn, but these lessons have stuck with me to this day. Homesickness was another major challenge I faced. Being away from family and friends for so long was tough, and there were times when I felt like giving up and going back home. But I knew I had to push through this and make the most of this incredible opportunity. Despite the challenges, I wanted to make the most out of my time in China, and I went full in. I started taking Mandarin classes. I joined a gym to get in shape. I met people outside the workplace. I developed more of a social atmosphere. I started experiencing with different foods, spicy foods. I even started enjoying stinky tofu. I eat everything in China now, and it's good. As I started to settle in and really realize the beauty of China, the country, the people, the culture, the stunning landscapes that are simply everywhere, the rich history, the warm hospitality of the people, China was becoming the place for me. Despite the challenges I faced in my early years in China, and still face some challenges, the beauty, the kindness of China and the people have made it all worthwhile. And for that, no matter where I end up, I will always treasure my time in China. Despite the challenges, there were so many times where there was just beauty, kindness throughout this country. And when I say kindness, I mean true kindness. Let me tell you about a few of the stories that actually happened to me.
I remember times being lost, whether that was walking around outside or being inside a shopping mall. Maybe I was looking confused, but there were many times when locals would come up to me and ask if I needed any assistance. I remember vividly when I was lost once outside a crowded market in Shanghai, and a kind old man took the time to ask me if I needed assistance, actually helped me get to my destination, and during the way, he was chatting with me in broken English the entire way. These are memories that I will cherish forever.
Acts of kindness has a lasting impression and will stick with you for the rest of your life. If there's one thing that sticks with me in China, is kindness.
In that moment, I realized that even in the midst of my chaos and confusion, there is always the potential for human connection and love, and China has that all over. It's been proven to me time after time. Another story, an experience, and one of the most memorable experiences I had in China was during the Lunar New Year celebration.
I basically knew nobody when I first arrived in China. I was lucky enough to be invited to a traditional Chinese New Year dinner with a local family that I met, and it was an incredible experience. The food, the Chinese wine, the laughter, the fireworks at night. It was like nothing I ever experienced before. And let me tell you about that wine. I don't drink anymore, but I sure do remember back in that day, Chinese New Year time with that family and the elders, I was feeling good. Chinese wine. I realize I'm not Chinese. I realize I'm a foreigner visiting China, but during that time, at that celebration during Chinese New Year, I felt part of that family. I felt part of the community where they were having this party and celebration. They made me feel that way. They made me feel so welcome, and to this day, I cherish it. Another story, and you might think it's funny, when I first rolled into China, I was staying at a hotel. And I noticed in the early mornings, there were always people across the hotel in a park doing Tai Chi. So one Saturday, I got brave enough in the morning and went over there and watched. And it wasn't before 10 minutes went by where a couple of the locals walked over to me, grabbed me by the arm. I knew nothing about Tai Chi. I was laughing most of the time because I was learning and I didn't have the coordinations, but they taught me a little. And then the next Saturday I went over there and I did it. And they made me feel like I was part of that Tai Chi in that park. I felt that they did not think of me as a foreigner. They did not think of me other than a friend. And it was truly a wonderful experience. The experience of doing Tai Chi in the park with the locals was another China experience that I will cherish. The experience taught me the importance of being present in the moment and letting go of my need for control. I realized at that moment that I was stepping outside my comfort zone and was having an experience like I never had before. And now, stepping outside my comfort zone, when people make me comfortable and embrace me for who I am, and who they are, and don't pick sides, but pick people and treat people with dignity and respect, which China does, it's for me, and I love it. The Chinese values are unmatched around the world. Basically, embracing the unknown, the unexpected, and doing it with people that you have trust in. It's a wonderful experience. There's many lessons that have stuck with me to this day, and I try to apply it to my life whenever possible, and instill my lessons learned with my children. Another terrific experience that I had in China is when I was invited to a traditional Chinese wedding. The colors, the sound, the old tradition that I was experiencing for the first time, the love in the air, people embracing me as a foreigner, making me try all the different foods, all the different customs, the dancing around, the fireworks at the end of the night, and of course, all of the Chinese wine. As I looked around and saw all the happy faces, I was becoming more happier as a person, and I realized this life was for me. As I watched the bride and groom exchange their vows, I felt a lump in my throat, and it was at that moment where I had pure joy and celebration for people who I didn't even know. As I looked around and saw a sea of happy faces, I was struck by the realization that this is what was meant for me, and this is what it truly means to live. Some of my experiences have definitely laid the foundation for the rest of my life. And things that I've learned along the way, important things such as material possessions that are just non-value. What's value? The connections we make with people and how we value people and treat people. The distractions of everyday life, it's not worth it. Life is about making connections, treating each other well, making memories along the way, peace and harmony with all. As I walk into this cave, wow, look at this. Oh, is it beautiful in here? This is what I'm talking about. Peacefulness, harmony. Throw your problems away. You don't need them. Many of these past experiences that have been with the local Chinese people have shaped me for the better, whether I realized it or not. China's made me a better man. There's no secret about that. I know that. I'm sure friends and family know that. I can promise you, and I can promise the ones I love, I will cherish what I've learned in China, which is 100% positive for the rest of my life. I have not learned one lesson that has not been positive to make me a better man. I did it again, lost my backpack. Good grief. This time I left it somewhere far behind. Let's go see if it's there. I don't even remember where I left it. Seen a backpack. Here we go. I left it here. Look at this. I was gone for a while. This bag is still here. Got my backpack, everything's in it. I would say that was a good, I'm gonna guess, 20 to 30 minutes, and it wasn't ripped off. Why? Because it's not the US, and there's no thieves in China. Sorry, that's how I feel. I've been ripped off in the US enough to know, but not in China. But I still panic because it's got personal possessions in it. But I guess I shouldn't panic. My experience in China has taught me valuable lessons.
Chinese culture taught me that life is about so much more than just getting by or achieving success. It's about embracing the unknown, being present in the moment, and cultivating empathy and compassion for those around us.
In conclusion, living as an expat in China definitely has its challenges, but the rewards outweigh any negativity. The growth that I've experienced, the values I've learned will be with me for the rest of my life. And what makes it most valuable is how I can pass this down to my children as they learn the way of life in China that far exceeds my expectations. Coming here on a job assignment, living here, experiencing this now after 13 years, I've transformed my life into a better man.
Oh, hi.
Have a nice evening.
You too.
Just love meeting people in China, no matter where I'm at. It's a beautiful thing. So anyways, life experience has been amazing. My dreams have come true totally, completely. How is that? Well, I've got a good job. I'm able to save some money because it's affordable in China. Was able to invest in a home. And the biggest dream, I have children. I have a wonderful family. That's a little bit about my story. What I've learned, lessons learned in China has truly made me a better person for the good. 13 years. I feel different today than I can remember. Every year, I just seem to grow. I'll continue to grow as I learn these cultures in China. So do me a favor, don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate everybody's support. And for all those haters out there who don't like me speaking up about the Western media, lies, too bad. That's how it is. Leave some comments below. Tell me about your lifetime experiences. Have you ever lived or worked in another country? What was that experience like? Did it make you a better person? Well, I'm being transparent. It made me a better man. Take it for what it's worth. Everybody be good, be safe, and wherever you are in the world, have a good holiday. Holiday season is upon us. Be good.